You know, this entire time we've gone over Jeff Petry and Erik Karlsson and the trade and everything, as well as the second Jeff Petry trade from Montreal to Detroit. But what we have not talked about yet is Petry's overall response to it. Sure, we've tried to fill in the blanks ourselves, kind of just insert our own opinions and whatnot, things we've heard before, and try to apply them to the situation. But in today's video, what I wanted to do was go over onto an article on TVA Sports, because they have some comments from Jeff Petry in response to the entire trade situation. Of course, you could say this is just kind of catering to the Habs and doing all the things that Montreal fans love to read about, but at the end of the day, it's a defenseman saying his thanks, and I think this is a pretty good article to encapsulate those ideas. So, without further ado, the article is linked in the description. Jeff Petry thanks Kent Hughes, as translated from French into English, posted on August 16th, 2023, so a few weeks ago. The article pretty much cites Jeff Petry's media availability on Wednesday, and he talks a little bit about how his father, Dan Petry, was a pitcher with the Detroit Tigers for many years. Quick aside, they're both going to be wearing the same number 46. I saw some people saying, wait a minute, why is Jeff Petry wearing this number? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then they see the second slide where it's like, yeah, his dad was a pitcher here. He's technically a legacy. So there you go. There's the number paying respects to his father. Jeff Petry, during his media availability, said this: "I grew up watching this team and always imagined myself wearing that jersey," he said during the press conference at Little Caesars Arena. "In my mind, I always wondered if I would get the chance. Is it possible? I thought maybe I was going to play a season in Detroit at the end of my career or when the opportunity presented itself. To receive the call yesterday that I was traded to the Red Wings, it was a really special moment." Take a look at what Petry said his father's response to the entire thing was when the trade was made, because Dan Petry, Jeff's father, is indeed working on television. He is an analyst for the Detroit Tigers games. "My father was working. He sent me a short message where he told me he was very honored and that he really did not see this coming. Jeff Petry's dad said this: I'm going to have the chance to see my son play for the team of his childhood and to see him in this magnificent jersey," expressed Dan Petry during the broadcast of Tuesday's game between the Tigers and the Twins. "It's going to be really special. I hope to be able to go to a lot of games." Take a look at this next paragraph. I love how they write it out here. Dan Petry also revealed that he had known for a week that his son was going to be traded in the city of the automobile. The city of the automobile. My goodness, you could not just go out there and say Motown. That's hilarious. Instead of Motor City, it's the city of the automobile. You gotta love the French translation sometimes. But it is interesting, though, how Dan Petry said that he knew for a week that Jeff was going to get traded over to the Red Wings. It's almost like it was set in stone. It's almost like this was meant to be. Of course, though, with all the family situation stuff behind it, the fact that Petry was already inclined to being in an American team after the pandemic year shut everything down and restricted access across the border, maybe this was the ultimate conclusion here. Furthermore, we had ourselves some more comments about Jeff Petry, pretty much responding to the Canadiens and Kent Hughes. Petry wanted to thank the GM of the Habs for having traded him to the Red Wings. Recall that the other week, the Canadiens got Jeff Petry in this three-team trade with the San Jose Sharks and Erik Karlsson. "There are never any guarantees," Jeff Petry said, "but Kent Hughes asked me which places I wanted to be traded to, and to do what he did for me is great. Detroit was my number one pick." And so there you go, Red Wings fans. This is the kicker. Sure, some of y'all might be getting ticked off. Some of y'all other fans of other NHL teams might be saying, hey, why did the Wings get this guy? Why did the Wings get a guy who was so old and who was going to take away defenseman ice time minutes from younger guys who are breaking onto the scene? Well, this was the team he wanted to go to. He's at such a cheap cap hit and he can still produce points. He can be a power play quarterback. He can do all the things that you want a top four defenseman to do. And he wanted to go here. Like, what are the Red Wings supposed to say no to that? Say no to a great hockey story in this situation where, sure, you might be limiting some of your prospects' ice time, but it's not like you're making your team worse on paper by getting this guy in the first place. He is a huge upgrade over Gustav Lindstrom. He makes the team better, he adds a veteran leadership quality to this blue line, and he's not bad. just 2 years ago, #1 quarterback on the Canadiens when they went to the finals. You also had yourselves another comment here saying that Kent Hughes never intended Petry to play for the Habs in 23-24 and wanted to accommodate his trade quickly. I'm of the school of thought that you should try to do things the right way for players and humans in general. I called Jeff and told him I knew he wasn't really expecting a call from me. He has 4 young boys who are about to return to school in 2 weeks. So, having this guy stick around in Detroit, yeah, that's the best case scenario here. So for Kent Hughes to go out there and do Jeff Petry a solid, send him back home, and keep him around where he could stick around with his family, stay with the boys, and stick around with his father too. That is ultimately the best bro move that the Montreal Canadiens could have pulled off here. And sure, they got themselves some stuff in return. While Jeff Petry might not have been traded for the first-round pick that we all thought he could go for, this was a smaller part of the bigger picture. There were multiple assets in the Erik Karlsson trade. The Canadiens freed themselves from Mike Hoffman, and it's kind of funny how he's ended up back in San Jose after the entire situation there. But Carlsson, Petry on the move. The Canadiens got some stuff. They got Casey DeSmith, Nathan Legare, a prospect that I like. We're still waiting on the updates for all the goaltenders stuff to go down, but at the time of recording this audio, this just seems to be the update we have gotten. Lots of stuff the Canadiens ended up getting in exchange for Pitlick and Hoffman and holding on to a few dollars of Jeff Petry's salary as he was sent over to Detroit with salary retained. It's a pretty good move for everybody involved. In a vacuum, you could say it might not be the best decision for a rebuilding team to take on a guy like this, but he's not a bad player. Like, I've been preaching the Jeff Petry love train this entire time, and now, knowing that he wanted to specifically go to the Wings, and Stevie Y accommodated for that with a pretty cheap cap hit and a pretty cheap return, it makes everything feel pretty good. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Jeff Petry, Dan Petry legacy making itself be known here in Detroit? How the Red Wings were the main destination for Petry, how they were the first choice, and how Kent Hughes was able to get that done? Are you of the mindset that this Petry trade is actually detrimental to Detroit? That it's holding back the status and potential growth of the young guys? How this might not be the best move long term because Petry doesn't expire until the end of 2025? There are some perspectives that corroborate that, but I personally feel more so that being a good human being and just giving the guy what he wants most is more important here in regards to growing a family and being there for his kids. I mean, he's 30-something years old, 35 years old. There's not really any incentive to push this guy into an unideal situation. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Petry trade, his comments about Kent Hughes, how he thanked Kent Hughes, and how the Red Wings played a big part in this as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.